Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. In today's program, we'll be showcasing a documentary on the preservation of our mother tongue in Nigeria. Later on in the program, we'll be showing you ways that you can also stay coronavirus free by following some simple basic steps. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
Nwata mara na-akwa akwa esilama nna ya furu ozu ngafe
okpehe wu mọda ga alcohol
nwatakịrị bulie nna ya elu ọgọdọ awuchie ya anya.
Kowa ya shuka irin bari zai girbi kaico ya zuba a rumbun da na sani.
Languages have proven to be of strategic importance to the human race. Apart from giving an individual a sense of identity, it is also a tool for preserving our heritage. In Nigeria, there are over 500 native languages spoken across all the regions, with Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Fulfude, Ibibio, Kanuri, Tiv, Igala, Nupe, Izon, Beram being the major languages in terms of population. The beauty in our diversity is clear and should be paraded proudly.
When we say mother tongue, basically it has to do with the target language. That's the native language, all right? Some scholars have seen it as the language that one learns from the beginning, as in the cradle. So basically it's a language that, identifies a community, a people, an ethnic group.
Your heritage, your culture, your the ability to know and do in a society, in a community. It's the whole package, your mother tongue.
I asked this question when I was 3, mother and tongue. And of course, in my literal definition, I try to equate it as my mother and her tongue. And what tongue simply means is what comes out from your mouth. In other words, mother tongue could be defined as your natural, local language.
It may be also taken closely to mean first language in certain circumstances, but then it may not necessarily be the first language. But where it is the only language, then it is the first language.
With their complex implications for identity, communication, social integration, education, and development, language is of strategic importance for a group of people, because when languages fade, so does the world's rich tapestry of cultural diversity.
All right, and one of the basic importance of language is that it defines a people, all right? It gives you the cultural heritages or heritage now of the people. So if the language goes into extinction, oblivion, the people cease to exist. So there's every need that we must do, to ensure that this language is preserved and it is kept for future generation.
My first student, when I first opened 12 years ago in Plateau State, was a Chinese man that came to learn Hausa. And I said, Mr. Fu, will you have time to come and learn this language? And he said, Madam, I need it, so I will learn it. And he would come from Abuja 3 times a week for 1 hour to learn the language. And he did, and 2 months after, he learned the language. He was able to communicate with, his people he was doing business with. So for business purposes, for sports, So even your language, right now we're promoting for security. Learn your language for security purposes. With the way there's so much insecurity in Nigeria, in the world, learn a bit of your language for it to help you get by.
It's extremely important because the number of educated versus the uneducated is still actually high. And those are the people in the informal sector who still contribute to the economy, who still contribute to the labor force. And so if you can't communicate with them, how do you expect them to bring your vision into reality? How do you expect to actually help them and make impact in a way that they would benefit from it?
Now imagine a situation where I breed up my kids without exposing them to our ethnic indigenous language and our culture, and I am the king. Then tomorrow certainly I must pass away by way of death to give way for them to take over, because kingship from where I come from is hereditary. And imagine a situation where my children are not in tune with our cultural practices. What do you think that would happen to that community? It would become chaotic, because that child would assume the throne with yeomen, hey guys, yeomen and all of that. And that is anti our practices. That is anti-Africa. That would debase whatever cultural heritage that we still have standing.
I remember in 2005 or 2006 in Lagos, at Ladipo, that was when Auntie Joma Sade of blessed memory passed on. Anybody that knows Sheraton Hotel, we know Masade, Mrs. Masade. Do you know I was driving from Ikeja to her place in Ajah Estate for the wake keep. My car broke down at Ladipo Junction. These area boys descended on me. I just raised my hand up. Do you know that was my saving grace? It was an experience to behold. Igbos gathered from nowhere. And they were able to rescue me, rescue my valuables, and rescue my car, and make sure they dealt with those wonderful human beings on the road.
According to UNESCO, around the world, every 2 weeks a language disappears, and that takes away cultural and intellectual heritage. And according to the UN, at least 43% of the estimated 6,000 languages spoken in the world are endangered. In Nigeria, there is a growing phenomenon where people feel shy to speak their mother tongue. This neglect can be traced to the homes and schools. With only a few languages given a place in education systems and the inability of some parents to teach their kids the echoes of a mother tongue continue to fade from our minds and mouth.
In educational psychology, they will tell you, or philosophy, they tell you that, okay, you should use the target language of the community. All right. So in Nigeria, for example, we have 3 major languages. Of course, these are not just the only languages, but we have other languages. But again, how many schools today, teach those subjects? The Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. How many schools today do that? How many people want to even value those that even go to school to study Hausa language, for example? You see it as something that is not necessary. Why are you going to the university? What course are you studying? Hausa. People look down on you. Of all the courses, is that what you're going to? So the society has this stigmatization that it has actually attached, and it is actually affecting that. And so because of that, these languages are actually going into extinction, because there are no people to learn this language, to pass it on from generation to generation. So it suffers. There's a lacuna, there's a gap, and that affects, what we are saying, and it's one of the reasons why we face what we face today.
And after all, in the school even curriculum, provision has been made for all the languages in Nigeria to be learned. If you go to the National Policy on Education, if you refer to that, it has clearly provided, there are stipulations that clearly state that the language or the medium of instruction in the first 3 years of primary school, which is the early primary school, primary 1 to 3, should be the language of the immediate community, which impliedly means the mother tongue. But if people are running away from this, then it means that they have not realized really the importance that their language have. And we are really going into the precipice of really losing our heritage and moving down the drain, because there is this double jeopardy of you not acquiring the foreign language well and then losing yours as well, and which means you have no identity.
Is it civilization that is causing it? I find it very awkward. The white man came. I don't have anything against the white man. They brought their culture to us. We were the ones that willingly threw away our own culture. They didn't tell us to throw away our own culture. I have gone to a church and I prayed in Igbo. People were like, but some people also admired it. Why is it that we are not putting the culture that we imbibed into our own culture? Because in our language, which is our culture, which is the way we behave, that is our identity. Our language is our identity. Why are we not putting our language in it? So a lot of people are waking up to the reality of it. And I'm also waking up to the reality of it.
At the global stage, languages have become a tool for Nigerians to form groups and communities in order to instill a sense of belonging among fellow citizens in their host country, irrespective of individual tribes. However, the gaps in transmission of language has widened generation after generation, and there is a growing fear of language extinction.
We are suffering from a big problem of tribalism. And so most things have been pushed and divided towards tribal lines in Nigeria. And so in the diaspora, I think the mother tongue which unites us is mostly Pidgin as opposed to our local dialect. And I'm very happy with that, and I claim that it gives you so much joy when you're at the airport and you hear some people speaking Pidgin English, and maybe you're lost. So let's say you go somewhere in Asia where they don't speak English and you hear some Nigerians speaking Pidgin English. There's this happiness. You feel safe. You feel at home.
People in diaspora, I know they normally have association, and I know it's in a bid to, still live their identity. That's the reason they have all of this. I think that's a good platform, actually, for them to actually launch this to the younger generation. So it's not just, having an association. They should look inward. What should this association benefit the younger generation?
Just like it is done elsewhere, when they go outside their country. We are here in Africa, we see that the embassies, how they really promote the culture of their own countries and what have you. So the diaspora can as well create that kind of synergy between them and the our embassies to be able to float such programs or activities that will showcase our culture.
As at November, when I left US, I saw it live and direct, that mothers, parents, associates, teachers, everybody is paying good attention to mother tongue language learning by all indigenes. The Akwa Iboms, the Calabar people, they are there. The Yorubas, I give it to them. The Hausas, I give it to them. When you come to the campaign of advocating for mother tongue language, I think the only tribe that need to wake up are the Igbos. Yeah, why I say that is that because I'm an Igbo person, I can look in West and tell myself the truth. And when we go for our conferences, you will see that the Igbos are the only tribe that when you speak Igbo to them, they won't respond to you in Igbo. They speak to a Calabar person, speak to a Yoruba person during our conference. You will see that they are very happy to see you. They are very happy to talk to you. But the Igbos are not like that. I talk from here. I'm not trying to talk them down, but I'm trying to let them know that there is every need for us to go back to the drawing board because our language is going.
Another contributing factor to the gap is the reduced use of mother tongue languages in the mainstream media today. While we can boast of some indigenous movies, television series, rap music, and a few other poorly rated televised entertainment, very little is done using the media to promote the rich diversity of mother tongue languages in Nigeria.
I think that mainstream producers must explore a lot of the other languages that we have here. And so for me, when I decided I was going to go mainstream with my productions, one of the things that I wanted to do was to make sure that there were a bit of the culture, that is the Hausa language, and the things that are, because there's something rich and exotic about Hausa language. It is mostly borrowed from the Arabic language, but it's been it's been done and twisted and revolved and revoiced in a way that it sounds very exotic. Like, it's probably one of the most expressive languages out there. I mean, a Hausa man talks to you in Hausa language. It's so exciting to hear them talk about it. So for me, I felt that if I was going to promote anything coming from northern Nigeria, then the language also has to be part of it. It seems that we're doing a little bit of coins a lot, and that is not helping matters, because we're trying to speak like the people that we're trying to tell our stories to, and we're trying to sound like them. So there's nothing unique about that. And if we tell stories in our own languages, they're always very excited to want to hear something that's different from what they're used to hearing.
Today, LTV has a program called Ekwendibo. They have the one for Yoruba language called, I can't remember the name. They have another one for the Hausa programs. So these ones that are owned by state and being funded by them, they are trying.
When we continue to ignore our indigenous languages, the younger generation suffers. How then can we stop our negligence as a nation in order not to erase our heritage?
A child who is just born has that, in psychology they call it, the heart of the mind of the child is like a tabula rasa, such that whatever you put there has the tendency to remain there. So, from the beginning, there's a need for us as parents, as stakeholders, to begin to ensure particularly that children are inculcated these values from the cradle. Whenever they go to school, yes, they can learn the other language, but our values, our cultural heritage must be kept, and it must, begin from the home front.
That is why the promotion of mother tongue is absolute responsibility of the parent. I give the responsibility to mothers. We gave birth to these children. We are their primary teachers, not the fathers. Yeah, they play some role. But a mother should, in all sense of responsibility, speak our language to our children.
Every school should have our native languages as a compulsory subject. From kindergarten, we must expose our children to our native languages. Take, for instance, the Southeast, Igbo language should, as a matter of necessity, be made a compulsory language. If you fail Igbo language, it doesn't matter the course you are into, you are not going to be considered fit.
Since the year 2000, by the approval of UNESCO, on February 21, the International Mother Language Day is celebrated around the world to promote peace, foster tolerance and respect between different cultures, and by judging the origin of the widely celebrated day, our educational institutions have integral roles to play.
I was doing research and I heard a 10-year-old boy, when I asked him, where are you from? He said, I'm from Jos. Yes, I know you're from Jos, but what's your language? I said, I don't know, I speak English. You speak English? Okay, but you have your language. What's your language? I don't know, my mother speaks something, I don't know. They speak something. Then in the same school, I met an 11-year-old who told me, when I asked him why he believes his parents want him to learn the language, because his mom brought him and said, just teach them, whether they like it or not, they must be in your school, they must be in this class, teach them their mother tongue. And he said he wants to learn his language because he does not know if he is going to be chief of his village someday, and how can he communicate with his people if he cannot speak his language?
We learn cultural studies, all right, where people are taught their values, particularly in literature, all right, African literature. It is one of the causes that people, when you study, you have this close contact with your heritage and with your culture, because there are certain books and certain things that you come across in contact with on account of your reading that would actually, blow you up and expose you to your traditions. For example, somebody who has not been to the East, I've never been there per se, but if I read texts from authors, particularly the likes of the Chinua Achebe and all of that, you discover that, this is the culture of these people. And it gives you that, that affinity, you begin to want to associate with it, because one of the things it will help you do is that you will appreciate other people's culture and other people's value.
Like the term mother tongue, is believed that mothers play a huge role in teaching children their indigenous languages and help transfer these languages from generation to generation.
Mike-Bamiloye Anita Mofi. Munjong Akaduna.
Muri nyinga gungbam. Ni nga baji dokas Mofi. Muja Kaduna ga. Mun ke wan jarbuta. Anden tile amigaki. Nga shu na fanga. Baji ngani Anita. Mun kwan an janga. Kuma ngyan lashe. Ba gyal minin ngyan. Saboda ngyan lashe ka tu mini ma shok mun gyal mun shada mini riyan ngyan. Saboda kwale banga ba jan. Ba digin bani ba shunwayin gyana. And then ngyan lashe kan jana manajir. Di riyan ngyan. Di takiri riyan ngyan bon wan shada nyu pagun gwere na ma shabga. Di riyan bon wan shada nyu yande ngonda manga. Aman kana gyal wa chab ngyan. Wa chabga wa shata kiya shu alishu ngana. So pagutu murian ba nigin ngana ya kwaga. Shanyanka balire.
As we continue to make the necessary effort in securing our mother tongue, we must equally commend Nigerians who are championing this cause. We believe that for a successful transfer of our invaluable cultural values and heritage to the next generation, mother tongue learning should not only be insisted, but it should be a foundation.
Achalum maino iyemu Andy Madaki ohumatu gaga kaini idomanu wea ainya
Odumiki Rema Oguche Edomishe bo nana ni uchi omigala omane omata megbacho
Aha mobo Ada Rose Onyoko Ashenze. Abụ nwafọ Igbo, hụrụ ikwu Igbo n'anya, hụkwa obodo anyị bụ Nigeria n'anya.
Una ọ ga-adị mkpa ka anyị bido n'oge, especially ndị ntorobịa na ndị agbọghọbịa na ndị nne, ka anyị bido n'oge na-akụziri ụmụntakịrị asụsụ anyị.
Hangwen henkadgwen bidlungno samna Vivian Kwande hangode sosai.
Na alfahari da harshe na alfahari da Najeriya, na alfahari da 'yan Najeriya, na alfahari da al'adunmu a matsayin na ɗan Najeriya na gari.
That's it for today's program. Watch the full documentary on our website and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network, at The Osasu Show, at Osasu Igbenadian, at TOS Foundation on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. You can read news on sustainable development and current affairs across Africa on our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. Let me also use this opportunity to bring awareness to the growing rate of coronavirus cases in Nigeria. There are basic steps that you and I can take to prevent ourselves from getting this virus. Wash your hands, social distancing, meaning stay away from people during this period. It's better to self-isolate whether or not you're sick to prevent yourself from getting this virus. Another important thing is the Osasu Show Foundation will be making a donation of clean drinking water to communities that do not have access to water at this time. So please, in order to find out how you or your community can be a beneficiary of this, visit our website, theosasusshowfoundation.org, or simply call or text the number on the screen. Let me also use this opportunity to send my sincerest sympathy to the families that lost loved ones during the Lagos gas line explosion. If there's any way the Osasu Show and its foundation can contribute to the education and the welfare of the families, do contact us on this hotline as well. That's it for today's program. I'll see you same time, same place next week. And until then, take very good care of yourself. God bless you.